Welcome to the Darkness and Dragonflies podcast.
It's your weekly dose of terror, trauma, and tea.
Hosted by your favorite mother-daughter duo, Martha and Stephanie.
I'm Stephanie,
I'm Martha.
and let's slap on that trigger warning and dive on in.
That's up.
For today's episode, as requested, we are going to be talking about our top 3 most memorable and most terrifying experiences. So I guess we'll kind of just go back and forth. Do you want to go first? You want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I guess the first experience that I will bring up will be back to where I told you guys about the shadow figure and where I was chased by the shadow figure. This is one of the other many times that we'd went down there, and Mom was not present at this particular
Nope.
instance.
Nowhere in sight.
Not this time. But I had went down to the location with several other people, and it was kind of like just getting dark, so kind of like dusky dark. It wasn't 100% pitch black at the time or anything. We were kind of killing time till a few more people came and for it to get fully dark before we were going to continue investigating at the location. So I was just out and about walking around the area, kind of getting a feel for the area and just kind of looking around until something caught the corner of my eye. And out of the corner of my eye, in my peripheral vision, I saw a green glow. Now, I did not think this was anything paranormal or anything of that nature. As I was walking around, I catch a glimpse of the green glow, and I thought it was what Dad had always called foxfire, which is something that makes the bark on trees or logs glow green. So I thought that was really cool, and I was just going to go and see if I could get me some foxfire bark and check it out. So I climbed the hill up towards the creepy tree, and I get to where the green glow's coming from, and I looked down, and instead of being foxfire, I was horrified to figure out that it was a baby's head. Basically, I saw a full-blown baby's head, and it was like face down in the dirt, and it rolled up to where it was looking at me with no facial expression, just bright glowing green. And it scared me so bad that I fell backwards down that hill, and everybody started asking me if I was okay because everybody just watches me tumble down the hill. And I was like, let's just get out of here. Let's just get up. Let's go. I'm not staying here. Get me out of here. And everybody's like, what's going on? You're never scared of anything. Like, why do you want to leave? We just got here and we're still waiting on so and so. And that's when I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to get out of here. And I never spoke about this particular instance till like maybe a year later. And I think you were the first person I actually told. I was just petrified by this. Like, it still gives me chills to this day. And what made it worse was later on, like a month or so after the fact, like I'd never spoke of this story or never told anybody, never had plans to tell anybody. And I was in the car with my son. He was in the back seat in his car seat, and he was only just able to form sentences like recently. He was only like 2.5 years old. And he's in the back seat, and we're driving by this location for other reasons. Like, we're just on this road for other reasons other than the paranormal. And all of a sudden he goes, look, mama, baby, baby. And he's pointing at the crooked tree where I saw this. And he's like, see it, baby? And I was like, no, 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 baby, no. So I sped out of there going like 100 miles per hour and trying to get off that road as fast as possible. And eventually when I did start talking about the story like a year or so later, everybody's like, well, that's from the Kirkland Bushwhackers. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I'd heard about the Kirkland Bushwhackers in that area because of some other things that had happened. That's when they told me that they had abducted a baby years ago and from a wealthy family. And they'd done this in hopes of getting ransom from the family. They weren't planning to injure the baby or anything of that nature. They just wanted to get some money from a wealthy family. So they take this baby and go hide out in the woods with it. And instead of the family just being like, oh, here's X amount of money, give me my baby, this family was like, you just messed with the wrong people. So the men all saddle up their horses and decide they're going to go out and retrieve the baby on their own. And while they were out and about trying to locate the baby started crying. And as the men were kind of getting closer to where they were, the people that were hiding the baby got worried that they were going to hear the baby crying. So eventually they beheaded the baby and ended up burying it there under a crooked tree, which I'm guessing is the crooked tree that everybody talks about at this area. And yeah, ever since I've been petrified by that
What a
story.
terrible story. Okay, my first story relates to that area when you had seen the dark figure.
Hmm.
Okay, so I go with you. We take 86-year-old Midgie down there because she had seen a lot of stuff in her lifetime, and that was just right up her alley to go and look for something to that effect. So we all go down this dark road, walking down through there, holding hands, and when we get to the bottom, Midgie says, "Nobody runs. If one of us gets eat, all of us get eat." So we turn around, and immediately from the dark woods, that something starts throwing sticks around my feet. So I'm alarmed, and I decide to go back up toward the car. So we slowly turn around, go walk toward the car, which is about a fourth of a mile away, and I decide to sneak a peek back. And I see this black figure. It's pretty big with super red eyes, great big glowing red eyes. So we start walking faster, and I think I have this feeling of dread and doom, and I think better get Midgie out of here because I'm responsible for her. What if she gets hurt? But this thing comes flying up through the ditch, and Midgie goes over to the edge of the road and says, "Hey, come here. I want to see who you are, what you're doing." So I make her get herself into the car, and we all lock ourselves in, and there's a lot of lights bouncing around the car. At this point, we just get out of Dodge.
For my second experience, I guess something that kind of sticks out that I would like to share is my experience with Waya Bald, just the events that led up to this and everything. So, me and some friends decided we were going to go to Waya Bald because everybody kept suggesting that we go there because it's supposed to be really haunted and there's supposed to be all this crazy stuff that happens. So, they wanted to go get something like on film or something. They wanted a full on experience. So we decided we're going to go to Waya Bald. And before we could go, I was like, well, let's run to the store and grab some batteries so that we have batteries and everything we need for lights and equipment and everything before we go. So we make our way to the store, we go in, and as I enter the store, I hear somebody yell, "Hey, Steph." And I came to talk to her. And this is a lady I'd known basically my whole life. And she's like, "I need to tell you something, but I think you'll think I'm crazy." And I was like, "I'm sure I've heard worse, what is it?" And she'd never talked about anything in this nature before anyway. But she's like, "Well, I really need to tell you something, but I just don't know how you're going to take it. And I really don't want you to think I'm crazy." And I was like, "Just what is it?" And she's like, "I had the most horrific nightmare about you last night." And she said, "I will never tell you what happens to you in that nightmare. And it was so real and so terrifying that I will never speak of it." And she didn't. She took that story like to her grave, literally. But she said, "What I will tell you is I need you to promise me that you will never go to Waya Bald." So
Mm-hmm.
I was caught off guard. I was like, oh, I didn't ever
Mm-hmm.
have the heart to tell her, well, that's where we're headed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, I was like, oh, okay. My friend's looking at me like, are you serious? Like, what is this? And I was just like, nodding my head, no, like, don't say anything. And I was like, oh, it'll be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm going to be fine. I
Mm-hmm.
just kept brushing it off. And she was actually getting tears in her eyes. She was so terrified. And she never even knew that's where I was headed.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, we went against her warning, even though that was really
Mm-hmm.
crazy timing.
I was
Um,
not there, by the way.
but I was like, okay, well, let's go. And my friends are like, are you sure you still want to go? And I was like, of course I want to go. Let's go.
Of course you do. You're
So,
too brave for your
so
own
we
good.
get ready. We get our stuff, put it in the car, and we're on our way to Walla Bald. Everything's fine and dandy. We get there. We're supposed to find some specific tree is where something had happened there. But before we could even really get anywhere on to the site, we literally get out of the car and just had turned on some of the communication devices that we use, which this was the Ovulus. And, it starts spitting out words and it forms a whole sentence right out the gate. And the first thing this thing says to me is, Stephanie will meet heaven soon.
Oh, gosh.
And both of my friends just stopped and looked at me and they're like, nope, get in the car. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, no, let's just see what happened.
No, no,
No,
no.
get in the car.
Mm-mm.
So they're get in the car, Stephanie. So here we go. We have to leave the area immediately, all because of somebody's nightmare premonition they had of me in this
Well,
location.
thank God you did get out of there.
Yeah. So I am still here. I did not meet heaven soon
Because you
back then.
left, that's why.
But yeah, that was
Mm-hmm.
my next story.
See, my second experience that I remember right away is one night I decided to go to bed early and read a book. So I'm reading my book, just relaxing, and I start to notice that something is picking up my bedspread and dropping it. Picking up, dropping it, picking up and dropping it. And I'd learned enough from researching things to know that when something happens like that, not to give it any acknowledgement because it gives it energy. So I tried to pretend like I didn't know nothing was going on. And then it goes up above my head on the headboard and starts knocking, pecking, going back, picking up my bedspread, dropping it, picking it up, dropping it. And I just keep ignoring it. So it finally quits. So remember, guys, if anything happens, don't give it any acknowledgement at all because you're giving it energy. Just ignore it.
So for my third experience, which is a little more amplified, it took place in the house we were living in when we dealt with the demonic entity and losing our loved one and the stories that we based our book off of, which everybody that's asking, the book is called What Doesn't Kill You by Martha and Stephanie Carpenter. So this was one of the most prominent experiences during that whole ordeal, actually. But I don't know if you remember, but when we were both in the bedrooms across the hallway from each other, and he was kind of like in the hallway in between the two bedrooms, and he kept going in there and saying things to you. It was kind of like off the wall and odd.
Yes.
And he was carrying a gun everywhere. And I had locked myself and my son into the room across the hall. And normally during these instances, I would have just walked up to him and like took the gun from him and been like, no, like this, everything's okay. Let's talk this out. Everything's good. But this night was different. Everything was different about this night. I don't know how to explain that, but it was different because it was not him. I didn't really know exactly that much about it then, but now I know for a fact that was not him that day. I heard him in the hallway, and like I said, he had his gun, and I heard him sit in the hallway. He sat down in between the two doors where the rooms were that we were in. So mom's across the hall, he's in the middle, and me and my son are locked in the bedroom. I hear the gun cock, and I could hear him hitting himself in the head with what sounded like he was hitting himself with the gun. And I guess you could actually see him, and that's what was
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, this is amplifying quickly. So I had texted a family member that had normally, like been able to either like intervene or like be able to help in some way. But I just knew to tell her that this time is different. Like, no. Because at first she offered, do you want me to come out there? And I was like, do not come out here because he had already made statements that if anybody came through that door, they were dead, basically. And I knew he meant it
He
because it
did.
wasn't him. And he meant that. He said, if law enforcement, family, friends, strangers, whatever, if anybody is to come through that door, they're dead. And I believed him with every ounce of my soul that day. And normally I would have walked up and been like, yeah, whatever, give me the gun. As I was waiting for what was going to happen next, and I was, getting more and more anxious and nervous. I know the family member was like, well, why don't you just climb out the window and I'll meet you and pick you up? And I was like, no, because if he hears me go out the window, there's a risk of me being shot. And I've got my kid with me. And that was just something like I really thought that I would probably get shot if I did try to go out that window. So I was like, no, I better not. Like, this is not a good idea. Things are different this time. Everything's amplified. It's not the same. So as we were waiting, like the conversation kind of ended with the family member because there's nothing anybody could do. And all of a sudden, I could hear him kind of moving around again. So I remember I took my son into the closet and I covered his ears and I crouched down over top of him and was just going to try to keep him from witnessing the least amount of anything that I could, regardless of what that was. And all of a sudden, normally he would knock or something and I would just open the door. But this time, he tried to open the door first, which was not like him to try to enter without knocking anyway, and he noticed it was locked. But instead of knocking this time, there was a peck on the door. And that's when I realized, like, it was not just a regular peck. He was using the gun to peck on the door to try to get me to open the door. And I just knew that wasn't a good idea. And that's when I kept my son. I shut the closet door in there because that way, if the gun did go off, it would keep the bullet from going near my son, and maybe he'd hear or see the least amount by doing that. That was the night things got so bizarre that we had to um get him some help, which, they failed us too
Oh, yeah,
tremendously.
they
But
did.
anyway, that was my other most terrifying
Hmm.
moment.
Let's see, my third one was after the worst had happened. The funeral was over, and I was in shock, really. I was lying in the bed for days just crying, and I kept hearing like bones breaking in the closet for like 3 nights in a row, but I was just in shock and just kept crying. And then one night, a big black blob came out of the closet slowly across the floor, up on the bed, and passed through my body. And it was like the coldest, most evil feeling. But it couldn't stay within me because I have Jesus Christ that lives in my heart. And since then, we're highly protected by God, by angels. So that's why we're so brave now, because nothing can really bother us because we're highly protected.
Okay. Now, I did receive a phone call a week or so ago, which we've tried to film this episode
This
multiple
is the third
times
time.
now, actually. Last week the audio got completely distorted where we couldn't even use it, and I don't know what's going on. We just filmed this again, and it did something again, so we're having to check the clips as we film them this time. But I don't know why. Something doesn't want you guys to hear this audio, but you're going to hear it.
Oh, yeah,
So
one way or
listen.
another.
Listen closely.
Yes.
So, what I've got to say next is, like I said, I received a phone call a week or so ago from a dear friend, and it's been brought to my attention that I need to put a disclaimer out there because a lot of people see, the paranormal as an entertainment industry. A lot of people like the fear factor, the being in the moment, type anxiety and stuff of that nature. They just like to listen to it, or they like to see us go through it or hear us talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or some people like to even investigate it themselves or experiment with things. But a disclaimer that I've got to put out there to you guys that is really laying on my heart after that phone call is this is not something to just dive into for shits and giggles. It is a very complex field of entertainment or work or investigation techniques or experimentation or whatever you want to call it. It is really complex, and it is not something to just dabble in if you are not fully prepared. There's a lot of preparation that needs to go into anything before you make a decision to even start doing anything related to this field, because there's a lot of dangers involved. There's been times that, had we have not been protected by our faith or been knowledgeable in the subject area, that we may not have been here to tell you guys these stories or to entertain you guys with any of this, because it is a really, really complex, dangerous field line to be in, whether it is just for fun or for experimenting or investigating or whatever it is. So, all I'm saying is always take it with a grain of salt. Like, just always be prepared. Make sure you have a strong relationship with your faith. Make sure that you know what you're getting into. Make sure you know that there's dangers involved. Don't bring anybody vulnerable with you, as you'll probably see unfold if you've not read our book. A lot of the things that we've experienced is because something preyed on a vulnerable family member and eventually took him from us. Like, there is a lot more to this field than what meets the eye. We've actually lost people in the process of not ever being looking for anything. It all came to us, you know. It's been brought to my attention a lot of times. People's like, "Oh, you guys don't ghost hunt, you're ghost hunted." Because 9 out of 10 times that we've had an actual experience has been when we were least expecting it. A lot less happens when you're out looking for it than what has happened to us prior to even knowing anything about it. That's what actually got us into the field at all, was things happening to us and us being like, what just happened, and trying to understand what we just went through and using it as like a healing mechanism for ourselves and to be able to help others that go through similar instances, which is why we wrote the book too. And then when we wrote the book, there was people from all over the world that reached out to us and was like, "Oh my gosh, you saved my life. I'm going through something similar." It's a lot, but we just want to put it out there because we do love you guys and care for you guys, that if you are not 100% ready, do not just jump into this field. And if you just like to hear it and see it, just live vicariously through us.
Yeah, that's true. And it's very real, and we're fine now. But remember, we're also highly protected. That's why we're so brave, is we're highly protected. So be sure you have Jesus in your heart. Be sure you know Jesus personally. And then you don't never have to worry.
Yeah, we have a strong faith that guides us through everything and helps ensure that we make it through. We also have knowledge of the area, um, in the paranormal field, that we have to use and make sure that we're very careful when doing anything involving the paranormal, because it just takes a moment to turn really bad really quick. And if anybody can tell you, it'll be us, because
Oh, yeah. And
we've been through the worst of it and came out, and we won't say we're unscarred, but we
God brought
made it
us
on the
through.
other end. Like, we made it to the light, and we're here sharing our stories and hopefully, entertaining you guys along the way, or teaching you something, or whatever it is, for whatever reason you're here. We're glad you are here, and we want to make sure we care about your well being and your safety. And we just want to throw that disclaimer out there, just so anybody that might be like, "Hey, this is kind of interesting, I want to do
Hmm.
it," then that way you kind of know that there is some things to consider before just diving on in.
Yeah, we just did it because we had things happen to us we were trying to understand. And stay away from Ouija boards.
Oh yeah, always. There's never anything good that comes with a Ouija board. I don't know why that is. Like, it's not even just portrayed in the movies. Like, a lot of people are like terrified of Ouija boards because of movies, but those stories are real. I just thought of that. What was that? The castle? the
Yeah.
experience with that Ouija board. That was crazy. And
I
the
guess
man
that,
passed out. And
yeah.
yeah.
That's
That's
another
a story for
story.
another time. But yeah, stay away from Ouija
And guys,
boards.
if you go to Santa's Land and ride the Rudy coaster, be sure you ride with someone else. Don't ride by yourself. Because we went this week. This is a lighter note, guys. We went this week, had
She
a
has an
great
extra
time.
disclaimer to add to our
Yeah, because
episode.
I've had a hurt neck all week. Rode it for the first time and thought, oh, this is a kid ride. And I rode it with my grandson, but I got jerked around pretty good. So if you're all by yourself, you'll get thrown side to side. So be careful.
The moral to this week's episode is 1, do not play with the paranormal without protection and preparedness. And do not ride the Rudy coaster alone.
By yourself.
So
Do
remember
not.
that. That's your 2 lessons you learned this week. And there will be a test.
Good advice.
there will be a test at the end of the session.
See, we do the paranormal, but then on the other side, we're comedians. So we'll be back and forth. So we'll keep it light, too. It's not all going to be gloom and doom. It's going to be happy, funny.
Some days it's rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah. Other days
Some days it's darkness and dragonflies. But here we are,
Have a good week, guys.
thriving. I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for listening to our podcast each and every week. We're so excited that it's starting to grow and reach more areas. So if you're new here, I hope you decide to stick around. We've got a lot of things in the works. Our script just took a big turn, which is huge news for us. So there's really good things happening, and we kind of took a huge leap of faith, and we're just going to go with it and see where it takes us. And we're really excited. So we will probably be out and about a lot next year. So 2026 will be where we'll be traveling a lot more with our project, and you may be seeing a lot of us around, and our story may be becoming a little bigger than we thought it was going to. And we are forever grateful for everything that's happening and everybody that's just been with this journey with us, and we're excited moving forward. If you're looking for us on social media, our handle is just at DragonfliesPod, which is the at symbol DragonFliespod. That's also on YouTube. I'm trying to work on keeping that up to date. There's a lot of changes going to happen there in a good way, and a lot more to come. There's a lot of things about to happen. There's going to be a whole new TikTok made, a whole new YouTube series. There's going to be all kinds of stuff coming. So if you're new here, stick around because it's going to be worth it. We're really excited to have you guys along for this journey, and we're looking forward to everything and hearing from you guys and seeing what you guys want to hear next. But for now, I will let you guys ponder and take in all this information that we've shared with you. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and we will catch you in the next one.